Okay, so you got the Texans and the Chargers. The Texans came out a little slow, and um, the Chargers had an opportunity to really lay it on the Texans early on. Two quick field goals, no touchdowns. Honestly, the game changed when CJ Stroud had that terrible snap. Went over his head, went off to the side. He picked it up, completed a pass down the middle. It almost seemed like the game changed at that point. Um, we're going to have a serious conversation about Justin Herbert. My guy's Dak Prescott, and would have he would have got killed for that performance. Justin Herbert is now 0-2 in the playoffs. His team blew a huge lead a couple years back, missed the playoffs last year, shit himself this Saturday against the Texans. But the game changed when on that bad snap. If you go watch that play again, there's a defensive back that's off to the side, and I don't know if he thought somebody was behind him or what, but there was no receivers in his area. He could have jacked that receiver's jaw up, and for some reason he just wasn't there. I don't know. He didn't know what was going on, but that was the play of the game right there. After the first drive, Broncos and Bills, the game changed. Bills did what everybody thought they were going to do. Ravens did what they wanted to do. The only good game we got was last night. Commanders, Redskins and Bucks. Baker Mayfield. That's a bad loss on his resume. A lot of people are on him. I'm not a huge Baker fan. I don't think he's that great. I think he's a bridge quarterback. I think he can win you 9, 10, 11 games maybe. He can maybe win you a playoff game or two. That's it. The Kirk Cousins, the Ryan Tannehills of the world. I just think you're doing your franchise a disservice by getting a bridge quarterback. It does nothing for your franchise. College football playoff. Texas played worse than I thought they were going to. No, excuse me. Ohio State played worse than I thought they were going to. I think Texas had a good game plan going in on defense. They played high safeties on the back end. No big plays over the top. Tim Banks, Tennessee defensive coordinator, he doesn't know what high safeties are. He doesn't know what help over top means. Texas had a good game plan. They had a chance to win it at the end. Quinn Ewers drops backs to pass, fumble. They return it. By the way, listen to this. As all the bad luck of gambling I've had, so I had a 2-leg parlay just to kind of mess with the odds, give me better odds. So I had Ohio State money line and over 28 points. Wait, over 24.5 points. Okay. Texas is driving at the end. No way they're going to no way they're going. I'm going to get this bet. Quinn Ewers fumbles. They've returned the ball. No flags on the field. I won my bet. Finally, in the last 2 minutes, I won my bet. Finally, a little bit of luck on my end. My gambling luck is on par with. I could bet it's going to be 95 and sunny in 20 minutes. I could bet that it wouldn't be 95 and sunny, and it would be. That's kind of my bet. That's kind of my bet, my gambling. I wanted to change things up tonight. I wanted to change things up tonight on the podcast front, I wanted to try to come up with some other stuff besides sports. Um, I wanted to talk about dating in 2025. People of all ages, I feel like, are single. More people are single now than ever before, I think. I wanted to talk about that. As a single man myself, I wanted to break it all down and see why dating sucks this day and age. Social media, less people are getting married, less people are having babies. It's different than it was when our parents or grandparents were teenagers or in their 20s. Why is that? And everybody has, I mean, unless you're in a long relationship, like maybe my dad or stepmom or stepdad or mom in a long marriage, Ron, dude, I've been married 38 years. I don't. What's the secret? That's a different conversation, I think. Um, as far as dating, though, dating and marriage, I feel like it's different as far as. I mean, it's hard to get a relationship nowadays, much less a marriage. Your grandparents dated when they were 17 in a small town, stayed together for 60 years. You found one person, you stayed with them, you know? Um, all my friends in my close group are married, um, or have a girlfriend relationship. Now, for the most part, I'm not going to mention any names, but for the most part, everybody who I know within arm's length that are married always complains about their spouse. Rob, that's not what I meant. I meant good to know I'm not in your close group. I meant like the guys that I went to high school with. Rob, me, you, and Donald in our online internet group. That's gay to say, by the way. We're the only ones single in our group. Dr. Kyle, T Carp, all our online buddies, they're all married. Now, for the most part, anybody that I'm around, they always complain about their significant other. And I'm the butt of all jokes when it comes to being single. Look at you, you're single, you're 37, what a loser. Society frowns on late 30-year-olds being single and no marriage. But I think it's changed. I think that part of society is going away and people are just accepting the fact that being single is fine. Um, it's not all about the picket fence and the minivan and the tire swing out front like it was 20 years ago. I have a buddy, I'm not going to name any names. I believe he got married because he thought that's what that's what society had for him. He got married because society told him he had to get married. I believe that. I think it's changing though. You know, I've bought my own house. I have no car payments. I have money in the bank. I have no drama. You know what I did for the past 5 days? I hung out with my dogs and watched football and masturbated. That's what I did. Now, would it be great to have somebody who could do those things with you? Of course it would. So why is that? Why is we got the apps. We got the Bumbles. We got the Tinders. For Rob, we got hookersonly.com. So as far as being hard, all this is coming from a single man. Okay. Um. So why, from my perspective, I have a hard time meeting people, and I don't think I'm the only one. How do you meet people nowadays as a guy? Now, I've always used this as an example. You know, okay, think of all the places that a single guy could meet somebody. Target has some cuties. Women are more worried about their safety than ever before. I don't want to be the guy to hit on somebody in the middle of Target. So now there's a right way and a wrong way to hit on somebody in public. But women, for the most part, they're just in there to get their shit and leave. Okay. Then the next thing, the bars, the clubs. Now, if you're 37 like myself, you shouldn't be at the clubs for sure. Secondly, if you're in that range of being in the club, 21 to 26, do you really want to meet your first wife at the club? No, you don't. So that's an option. So next thing, bars. I'm 37. I'm not going to go to the bars on a Tuesday night. That's stupid. I'm too old for that. Um, the next thing, sliding in girls' DMs. Now, there's a way to do it, and don't think that you have to pull out your dick and send women a dick pic to get their attention. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. Be creative. We've all done it. Be creative if you want to slide into DMs, but it takes talking before that. So how else are you supposed to meet it? Well, you got the dating apps. So here's the problem with the dating apps. Women have more options than men do. Okay. Let's say Jim Bob is on Tinder, and Jim Bob has his Tinder for a week. He gets 10 matches. Susie Q might have her Tinder for a week, and she has 75 matches. How do you get a guy to stand out? If you are a good guy and you got a good head on your shoulders, these women have more options. That's an unfair advantage from a guy's standpoint. Second thing, once you get one of these girls' attention, and you strike up a conversation, 9 times out of 10, it flounders out. Why does it flounder out? Options, for one, right? She may have options while she's talking to you. Might not been a vibe from the get-go. You didn't grab her attention. Maybe she didn't grab your attention from a guy's standpoint. So the third step, let's say you have good conversation and you get her number. Okay. Well, she's still on the apps. She's not going to give you her number and then delete the app. Right? So the next thing, you get the number, you have to meet up. That's another hurdle. Let's say you meet up and the vibe's wrong. The vibe is bad. You're back to square one. Another girl who's competing. So in that concept, dudes have an unfair advantage. Okay? Now, the sliding in the DMs or the hitting on the girl at Target, that helps you stand out. But if you go about it wrong, you're getting cooked in her group DMs. Screenshot. So I responded to a tweet a few weeks ago, and it was, let me see if I can find the screenshot. Okay. So why are people not getting married? And I'm going to break down some of these things here. I'll put what it says, why are people not getting married? Social media, anxiety and depression, afraid of commitment, can't talk things out, politics, everybody is damaged goods. That goes with anxiety and depression. Hookup culture, having children out of wedlock. Okay. Now, from my standpoint, my options are very limited at 37. Now, most of my um, dating pool, they have kids. Okay. Or if you date somebody younger, you have to deal with their immaturity. So the older you get, your dating pool shrinks. Okay. So your options are limited. If you're 21, 22 years old right now, the best thing I can do is find a cute honey right now that's around your age and stick with her. I never did that. I had a few options back in the day, but I just didn't, you didn't want to be tied down. You want to go party, you want to go hang out with the dudes, whatever. So, one of the things that I've always, I've had contact with women before that are very good, check off a lot of boxes. And we hit it off and we text for a couple months. We go on dates and then bam. You either get ghosted or she's anxious. She can't deal with commitment. At what point, as a person yourself, do you say, I'm going to put that all aside? We're all damaged goods. We've all been cheated on. We have got to get away from being so damaged and being so mentally, trust me, I have issues mentally. I deal with anxiety. I've dealt with depression before. I get it. If someone checks off all the boxes, we should give them a chance to the point where until they fuck it up. We're all damaged. Okay? Social media. Social media, you're always one click away from something better. And I say that because it's not always better on the other side. Now, bring up your grandparents again or your parents before social media was around. Lived in a small town. Nobody's business was on the interwebs. You didn't know who was available as far as one click on Facebook. Rob, does anybody ever really check all the boxes? I think if it's somebody you genuinely have something like you can feel it, they check off the most important boxes. Now, is every little thing perfect? No, that's not. No, none of us are perfect. But the core values, I think that people have to have. I couldn't date somebody who, you know, didn't see my side politically. You know, if they want to be middle, that's fine. I don't think I could date a liberal. But for the core values, I believe that for the most part, you can check all the boxes. Now, there might be some things that they have some red flags, but everybody has red flags, I think. So back to social media. So back when your grandparents were young, you know, your grandfather couldn't get on Facebook and see the next cute blonde that was churning butter, okay, or plowing the hill, plowing the garden, okay? They found your grandmother, they stayed together. There wasn't a click to get something better. So why are we afraid of commitment? If we all want to be married, and that's the ultimate goal because society tells us so, why are we afraid of commitment? Because something happened to us? That goes back to my damaged goods thing. If the ultimate goal is to be married and to find somebody and build a life together, why are you afraid of commitment and how do you get over it? Dude, I've been cheated before. My girlfriend got pregnant by another dude. I didn't date for 5 years after that. That happened in 2013. I got on Bumble in 2018 and found a relationship for a few months. 5 years I didn't date and I healed myself. Give yourself time to heal if you're afraid of commitment. And definitely don't lead anybody else. One of my biggest pet peeves I think females do is this whole show is gonna be controversial here in a minute. Give yourself time to don't lead somebody on and then reject them. We get it, Rob. I'm gonna put that on the screen. Don't lead somebody on if you're not ready. Don't be on the dating apps and waste somebody's time if you're afraid of commitment. Go fix yourself. Go heal. That drives me insane. I've kicked it with women before. Ones that I've wanted to pursue something with. And then they come back and you wasted dinners and you wasted time and you wasted text messages and you wasted FaceTime and phone calls. If you're afraid of commitment, don't be looking. Why do people do that? That'd be like looking for a car and you already have 2, 3, 4 cars. You don't need a car. You're just looking for the look. Hookup culture. This is going to be controversial. Ladies, men don't want to see your body count at 30 by the time you're 30. Okay? You don't have to put out on the first date. Men, you don't have to stick your wiener in a woman the first date. Hookup culture has ruined relationships. From a guy's standpoint, why would he be in a committed relationship if he's getting the poon? I mean, I'm being real. If he's getting the poon and his balls are feeling empty and he gets to watch football for 5 days in a row, why would he be in a committed relationship? He's getting everything he needs. Hookup culture is terrible. It's terrible for relationships. It's terrible for social media. I just saw online this girl who you know, the Lily Phillips girl who was bragging about banging 100 dudes in a 24-hour period. I started watching her biography or her documentary, and they asked her, you know, what do you think about settling down or getting married? And she's like, well, somebody's out there for me. Who wants to see your future wife getting ran through? Women. There's a meme I saw. It has a woman at the very end and a line of dudes. They're all naked. And then there's one dude in the crowd holding flowers. Stop putting out. All the dudes just got on and like started blocking me. Bang, you got served podcast. Ladies, You don't have to put out on the first date, dear. Hookup culture is bad for relationships. A couple of other things that I've saw. I don't know if anybody has used the Grok, the AI, artificial intelligence, Chat GPT. I think artificial intelligence is the shit. You can literally type anything. Tonight I had hot dogs. I wanted hot dogs in the air fryer. I typed in Grok, how much do I put hot dogs in the air fryer? It gave me the time and the temperature. AI writes my podcast. Trust me, I'm not that creative. AI writes my podcast descriptions. Dude, I'd make straight A's nowadays if I had AI back in high school. So I asked Grok today at artificial intelligence some reasons why the challenges of dating in 2025. It gave me a couple solid reasons. Some of the stuff that I've mentioned in the past 20 minutes. Virtual versus real interaction. Ladies, those filters you use, the selfies that just from here up, dudes, I know dudes use filters. I know you all do. I don't. But y'all use filters. I know you're guilty just like the women. You can make yourself look better on social media than you are in real life. With more interaction starting online, there's a disconnect between online personas and real life personalities. This can lead to disappointment when expectations set by digital profiles don't match reality. You meet up with somebody, they look worse in person. Attractiveness is key in dating. It's the first thing that comes up. It's the first thing you see. All the other stuff is secondhand. That's why dating's hard. If you are living a fake online life and they see it in person, somebody sees it in person, that's bad on you. Changing relationship dynamics. Modern attitudes towards relationships are evolving. There's a rise in non-traditional relationship structures like polyamory, open relationships, and digital. I tell you what, this open relationship stuff, I can't get one person to fall in love with me, much less two people. Look, I don't judge your kinks. I don't judge y'all's lifestyle. If you are dating two people, good for you. I couldn't do it. I mean, not that I'm a jealous person, but it's hard to deal with one person's problems, much less two. I think women are becoming more liberal, men are becoming more conservative. Politics. If you're less conservative, you probably believe in non-traditional marriage, in a non-traditional marriage, husband, wife, Harrison Butker type stuff. And I'm not saying the women are in the kitchen. I don't care about that shit. It's 2025. It's not 1957. I don't care. But when I say traditional, I mean religion involved. You're seeing probably less people you're seeing more people get away from God. Godly values. You got to have the same values. We were talking about check boxes a minute ago. You have to have the same core values for you to be something with somebody. More people are going opposite. You know, women and men I feel like are going opposite ways with traditional values, marriage. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Somebody so on this list that AI made, it said safety concerns. With more stories of scams, catfishing, and privacy issues online, there's an added layer of caution in meeting new people. That's true. Some of us are believe nothing will happen and then it happens. Always be careful, people. That may have turned people off as far as dating goes. The safety. More people are, you know, every 5 TikToks you scroll through, there's some kind of scam going on. Women, I said earlier, women are more fearful for their safety. Guys are creeps. Environmental and lifestyle factors. Issues like climate change have led to some considered long-term compatibility in terms of life choices like veganism or attitudes toward. I mean, that just goes back to my politics, the politics thing. Digital overload. There's an overwhelming number of choices which can lead to decision paralysis or paradox of choice as far as the dating apps. There's so many. You got Facebook dating, which is that's a shit show right there. Plenty of fish and Facebook dating is the junkyard of dating apps. To me, the classiest is probably Hinge. Tinder's the third one that's down at the bottom. Bumble's okay. Hinge probably has the best looking girls, but they're getting bombarded by dudes. It goes back to my earlier statement about being outnumbered. Communication styles. I'm not saying I need to text you from 7 a.m. to 10 at night, but texting is a big deal. It's how you get to know somebody. You know how many times I've wanted to pursue somebody, but they were terrible texters? It it kills the vibe. Again, I don't have to text you all day long, but you know, you always have your phone in your hand at all given. I don't want to hear I got too busy. By the way, if no woman is ever too busy on the face of the planet, guys, I don't know much about women, if anything, but I'm telling you right now, if she says I'm too busy, she's not interested. So let it go. You make time for what you're interested in. I made time for football this weekend. I wasn't going to make time for women's water polo. I don't know much about women, but the I'm busy thing, it's bullshit. Cost of living. It's 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 expensive to date. Going out on a date, 50, 60. I remember a couple summers ago. Went on a date with this girl. Spent $100. We didn't work out. It is what it is. But it sucks. But if you take them to the dollar menu and the dollar movie and you spend $7 on them, you're cheap and you're a loser. I mean, loneliness epidemic. Despite being more connected than ever, there's a reported increase in loneliness, which can make the process of finding a compatible partner feel even more daunting. What's what's the difference between nowadays and 20 years ago as far as places to hang out? Nobody goes to the movies no more. Where do you hang out to not feel lonely that's not considered new age? Skating rink? I mean, nobody over the age of 24 should go to the skating rink. Go find something to do. Get dogs. Go to the park. Sometimes you just meet people by just doing stupid shit. Go to Hobby Lobby. Go walk your dog in the park. Go give them a bath. Time constraints. Modern lifestyles often involve juggling multiple responsibilities. Work, side hustles, personal development, family, etc., with less time for dating. Again, it goes back to my too busy thing. You make time for what you're interested in. T-carp, church. Go to church. Who knows? God may have a plan for you at church. Meet somebody at church. Now, listen, now careful here. I'm not saying go to church to meet somebody. Go to church to listen to the Lord. There may be a plan for you there. Are less people getting married? I feel like less and less people are getting married overall. Um, I had a stat here somewhere. Okay. Few people are getting married in the United States. The marriage rate has been a significant decline over the past several decades. For instance, the U.S. marriage rate has decreased by nearly 60% since 1970, dropping from a peak of around 92.3 marriages per 1,000 unmarried adults in 1920 to about 34 per 1,000 in 2022. What's the cause for that? Commitment, cheating, social media. Marriage is no longer seen as a necessary to for state for social acceptance or personal fulfillment. 50 years ago, you were judged if you lived with a woman and you weren't married. Nowadays, it's normal. And that sentence right there, it's no longer seen as a necessary step. So, for instance, obviously marriage is more than a piece of paper, but in hindsight, if you're living at home, if you're living with a woman and you're getting the coochie and you're building something together, then there's no point in getting married, right? That's not my opinion. I'm just saying I could see that from a lot of people. Economic factors, financial independence. More women are financially independent, reducing the economic incentive to marry for financial security. 50 years ago, one of the reasons did women marry was because they needed financial support. They stayed at home. The man went to work, provided for the family. One income could could take care of all the bills. Nowadays, and I don't care. This goes back to the whole Harrison Butker joke thing. I don't care that a wife would go work. I wouldn't care. I'm not that old school. You're seeing more women become nurses and go to school, have careers, which in turn probably we'll talk about this in just a second, but they're probably having less babies because of it. So if they're financially secure, then they don't, in their eyes, they probably don't need to get married. Changing attitudes, changing attitudes towards marriage. Marriage is a choice. Skepticism about marriage. Once you get married, it's permanent. It's not like breaking up. That could be a sign of less people getting married. It's such a long, drawn out process to get a divorce. Let's just not get married, stay together. We can split things down the middle better if we split up. Delayed life milestones. Millennials and Gen Z are hitting traditional life milestones like buying a home or having children later in life. Again, 50 years ago, what was it? It was date, marriage, buy a house, have children. Nowadays, young people, depending on the housing market, they are buying houses, which that's fine. I would always say I bought my house before, obviously before I'm married. You never go wrong with buying a piece of land. Decline in religious influence. As as religion declines, so does the influence of religious institutions that traditionally promote marriage. So if you're not in and around religion, you could probably think that I have nothing to push to get married. My parents aren't firing fire and brimstone at me to go get married. Just a few reasons why marriage rates I think have went down. People need to get married. It's better for everything. It's better for your children. Stop having babies out of wedlock. But for the most part, people don't want to get married. This is the most sexualized generation of our time. So if you're getting your cake and eating it too, what's the point of getting married? Women are giving it up easier. So why would a man settle that down if she's giving it out to the whole neighborhood? That's controversial. I'm going to get canceled. Dude, dating's a bitch. I tell you what, man. I could tell you stories for days of hitting it off, and then 3 days later you get somebody and they come to you and said, I'm not feeling it anymore, get ghosted. Let's talk about this ghosting thing that's been going on. This is a hot new trend that people have been everybody's been ghosted. I've been ghosted. You've been ghosted. It's an immature response to get out of something. Now, I can understand if you match with somebody on a you match with somebody on a dating app, you talk for a few days, you go have a beer, you have a beer for an hour, things just aren't clicking. I've been there. Both parties know that it is what it is. You say goodbye, you go your separate ways. Hey, had a good time. Hey, had a good time too, but it's not working out. That's fine. You go your separate ways. That's a kind of ghosting, but it's not. Now, if you go your separate ways and there's no end text, both parties know that it definitely wasn't a connection. That's fine, I think, in my opinion. Now, if two people are together and going out on dates for more than 2 weeks, I think it would be the time period. If it's more than 2 weeks, it's starting to become something. There's enough there's enough texting and there's 2 or 3 dates in those 2 weeks where you're starting to figure out if you can really vibe from this. Um, but if it's more than 2 weeks and somebody and feelings are starting to get involved, 3 weeks, a month, you're over each other's houses, going on dates, and there's ghosting involved, that's wrong. Let's stop the ghosting. Be upfront. I've been blindsided before. I've been I've been with women where here I am so freaking excited about, man, this might be a long-term relationship. I like this girl. I want my parents to meet her. I want all my friends to meet her. Got a poster on Facebook. Bam, ghosted out of the blue. Everything was right. Everything was fine. There was never too busy She was down to kick it every single time. Then boom, I've been there. Stop ghosting. Joe, I love being married when I was and it was good, but as a man, why enter a contract when the other person benefits from breaking it? Good point. I got a buddy that is going through a divorce right now. He's kind of getting the raw end out of a lot of things. They have kids together. She got the house. And I don't want to make it a guy thing, guy versus girls. It sucks all the way through when you get a divorce. Both parties. Are people having less babies? The birth rate is going down. We need more babies, not out of wedlock. Let's see here. The global fertility rate has been declining since 1950. According to projections, it fell from 4.84 children per woman in 1950. 4 women per children. Four children per woman in 1950 to 2.2 in 2021. So people are having less kids. And it says that it's expected to continue dropping to 1.59 children by 2100, the year 2100. In the U.S., the birth rate has been a downward trajectory for a decade. The general fertility rate for the U.S. decreased to 54.5 births per 1,000 women in 2023, marking a historic low. This trend has been consistent with the rate declining by 3% from 22 to 23, year 2022 and 23. Cost of living, bad education, social changes, like we talked about earlier, focusing on your career, higher educational levels, especially among women, and changing attitudes towards family size and structure. Remember when you were, a kid and the narrative was, your grandparents had a shacked up and they had 9, 10 kids. Well, first off, there was nothing to do back then except for knocking boots. There was no Wi-Fi, there was no PS5, there was no Twitter to post controversial tweets. All there was good old fucking. So nowadays, the thought of having a big family has left not only women's mind, but men's minds too. I think men, for the most part, probably think from the cost standpoint, maybe. That's just pure guess. But women probably don't think of big families as a thing anymore. They want to have one or two. That's it. It's easier to not get pregnant nowadays. Birth control. Some of y'all don't know what condoms are, Rob. Access to contraception. Improved availability and acceptance of birth control methods have given individuals more control over when or if they have children. So you have an easier way to prevent yourself from getting pregnant, which is a good thing, let's be real. But it controls the population, right? I mean, keep from getting pregnant, less population. So here's something crazy too. Take all that I've said. Less people are dating or harder to date. Less people are getting married. And less people are having kids. Take all that what I just said. You want to hear something wild? the divorce rate is actually not that bad. I don't think I printed out a page for that. Let's see what AI says. Are people getting more divorces? How is that possible? If your marriages are going down, recent trends suggest that the divorce rate in the United States has actually been declining rather than increasing. The overall divorce rate has decreased since the early 2000s, with a significant drop observed in recent years. In 22, the crude divorce rate was reported 2.4 per 1,000 population, down from 4 per 1,000 in 2000. So less people are getting divorced. So how are less people getting married, but less people are getting divorced? Well, obviously you have to get married to get divorced. That's not what I'm saying. The adjusted divorce rate, which considers the number of married women, hit a 40-year record low in 2020 and 21 at 14 divorces per 1,000 women, slightly rising to 14.56 in 22, but still below pre-pandemic levels. Posts on Twitter are also reflect this trend, with users noting that divorce rates are at a 50-year low and that fewer marriages are ending in divorce. Well, that's good. That's very good. We just have to start getting people married and having babies. I've done some deep soul searching about the whole dating game and the person, you know, not to get too deep. I want to keep some of that stuff personal, but you always hear the term, you know, if it happens, it happens. And I've gotten to the point like that. I've gotten to the point where I just kind of just do me. If you're in a situation like myself and you Liz with a good comment. Some people I know are staying together in bad marriages because they don't want to be alone. Whether that's right or wrong depends on their circumstances. Well, if you're in the wrong marriage, I would suggest getting out of it. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're not happy, get out. Or if there's abuse, physical, emotional, get out of that shit. Don't be around that. Everybody deserves better than that. Everybody deserves not to be beat on or talked down to. Get out of that shit. But if you're like me and you have to, you're in a single of, they call it a single of singleness. Go pay off bills. Go pay off your bills. Go buy a house. Work on yourself. I know that's so cliche to say. Work on yourself. Go to the gym. Hang out with your bros. There's somebody for everybody, I think, but sometimes you have to figure out yourself before you can figure out something else. And certainly figure out something with another person. Something to think about. Social media has definitely killed this generation. You know how I always say this whole podcast is dedicated to pop culture and free speech and saying what, and I've said it I said it last week, about the movies and about the free speech and the jokes and stuff that you can say. The millennials and the early 2000s was truly the best decade, the best last decade before smartphones came around. And not only did it affect all that stuff I just named, like the movies and the TV shows and entertainment, the last decade without cell phones was a much better time to be dating also. Just think about that. Did you have better luck in 2006 dating than you do now? Something to think about it. Something to think about. I mean, obviously, my buddy and his wife met on Bumble. They have a precious young daughter now, but that's not for everybody. That's not the way it's planned for everybody. And of course, I've known people who have stayed together since high school. I have known people who have split since high school. That we all thought they would be together. Everybody's different. Everybody's situation is different, I think. Been on an hour. I think that's all I have for tonight. I just wanted to talk about something different other than sports. I'm going to try to do something different each week. I do like the sports thing, but I do like to change up with the pop culture or life, whatever. I appreciate everybody watching tonight. Right now, 400 viewers. Sorry about the technical difficulties at the beginning. My freaking mic was messed up. Season 6, episode 4 of the You Got Served podcast. Signing out. Appreciate it.